What's something's popped up? 1 second. What's all that? Please join. Okay. You have 21 gigabyte of junk cluttering your Mac. No.
Have you got it on record, Rob?
Is that?
Is he recording?
I don't know.
I think he is. Well, that's a good start, isn't it? To our first ever podcast, everybody. It took us only 40 minutes to figure out how to work Zoom. And then we finally managed to get into Zoom and start our very first podcast at 43 and 44. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yes. Let's do it.
So, podcast. I think we had a conversation about this a few times on and off on a range of subjects, and I think we were watching programs or seeing stuff on the internet whereby we were talking about influencers. What's an influencer on things like Instagram, if I pronounced it correctly, Twitter, or you've got Facebook, you've got what's called Snapchat. Obviously, we're a bit two old dinosaurs trying to learn new tricks. So I think we both agreed, right, that we'll stay away from those avenues and do a good old-fashioned speaking as two mates, just talking about stuff.
Yes, absolutely. I have to say, I've been talking about this a lot lately with my wife. And the one comment she made today, laughing, who wants to listen to two sad old guys in their 40s talking about absolute nonsense? And I said, who wants to listen to most of the people that are on the actual podcast? But people do. So I thought we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to say. And why not just, share our thoughts?
Well, like I said, at your best, as the best man to your wedding, you love to talk and talk and talk.
I do.
So why not do a podcast? It's been crazy. Obviously, it's taken the pandemic for you and I to come up with the idea of doing a podcast. So I think it seems like that we need a once in a century event to get our junctures together to make something and utilize a podcast like this. So the purpose for anyone out there, it might be just our mums and dads, if they've managed to turn on their laptops, and our wives having a good old giggle at what we're speaking and maybe what rubbish we're speaking, that we wanted to basically create something for you guys out there that just has two regular guys that have known each other since 11 years old?
Yes.
11 years old. My God. So do you realise, Rob, that most of the people that we see at an event or in a bar or anything like that, where our friendship is older than they are?
Yeah.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah.
Absolutely
well, look,
crazy.
I popped into the mobile phone shop the other day, thought I'd change over my phone, didn't want to, explained to the girl, I've pretty much had mobile phones ever since, 97? And, she started laughing and giggling. And I said, for many years, you had to change your phone every 2 minutes because it was a little bit better, or it had a slightly better screen or a better game. And then for the last few years, I thought, well, the technology's caught up. It is where it is. I don't need to change my phone. And then I realized that a lot of my apps weren't working. But the point to this, she said to me, you need an upgraded phone. So we're talking about it. She's like, well, how long have you had your contract for? And I went, well, exactly since 97. And, just explaining to her about the differences of what I've experienced over the years of the phone. And she turned around to me and went, well, you've had a phone longer than I've been alive.
It's mad.
And I thought,
Absolutely
really?
mad.
Now I'm feeling old.
Yeah, it is mad. I mean, we're 43, 44, but I think I've said this to you before, but my mind is still like 30.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's only the grey hairs in the beard and the hair, which I've told you with the beard.
Well, at least you don't have the beer belly.
Well, you don't have the beer belly, but I've told you about the grey hair, about just
Or do I,
used just for men. The dye.
Yeah.
The dye. You've got to use the bit of dye there.
Well, yes. I mean, every night, and I'm not embarrassed to say this, but every night, you know, my wife puts the cream on my face and says, "Look, I've got to take care of those wrinkles." You know, you're getting a bit older. But the funny thing is, I read an article the other day. They were talking about stuff from the 90s, and I'm sure we'll probably do a podcast on, you know, things that have passed us by as life has gone on. But it was quite funny because they showed a picture of a tape, and they said that a child had found a tape somewhere in some field in America, and their comment was, he turned around to his father and he said, "Is this something from the Civil War?"
Really?
He didn't actually know what a tape cassette was. Never seen one before.
Tape cassette in the car. Do you remember when we were younger and we were thinking cool, and we had our little cassettes and we were blasting out our music back in the day? Cassettes. I used to have a ton of those cassettes. Now, like you said, you know, I've got 2 kids and you've got young nieces yourselves. If you mention things like cassette or a video, you remember video? Do you remember Blockbuster video, renting it? You know,
Yeah.
these are just like, it's
Now that's a business that
5 minutes, but yeah, it's unbelievable.
that's disappeared. Well, why is it that they still show for saving documents and stuff a little computer disk, you know, that we had back in the day, you know, with the old Amigas,
Yeah.
or BBC computers or whatever, and they still like have these little icons to represent saving. But you know, I asked my niece, "Do you know what that is?" And she went, "I don't know what it is. It's just a picture." Yeah, but it is actually a disc that, you know, kids don't know anything about anymore. Yet they still use it as icons. A video. What's a video?
Yeah.
You know, you watch Fools and Horses and you laugh at the episodes, but I've actually been with my nieces where they've said, "What's that? What is that?"
Yeah. It's mad. It's mad. Things that we take for granted is like just prehistoric to youngsters and stuff like that, without sounding like too fuddy-duddies. I mean, what would you say, mate, to anyone listening out there, is the biggest transition from, you know, I can remember being 30 like yesterday to now in our...
I can remember being 18. I can remember being 50.
Yeah.
As we all can.
Yeah. It's just like
It seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
I look in the mirror and I think, well, actually, it wasn't. You know, I see, I talk to my nephew and, you know, he's a young man, he's going off traveling, he's enjoying experiences, getting on with his life. And yet, you know, I pulled out a picture the other day when I was holding him as a baby. You know, he's talking about the sort of things that he does and where he goes. And you kind of think, well, yeah, I was the same, but you know, that's now like 25 years ago. I don't know what it is. But I'm constantly always looking back and counting the years. In fact, I'll probably drive my wife mad. I'm like, I can't believe that's 20 years ago. That was 25 years ago. I can't even watch a Fools and Horses episode without saying, can you believe it? That was like 30 years ago. She's like, why are you obsessed with time?
Yeah. And speaking of time, if you hear 2 screaming kids in the background, it's one of my twins kicking off upstairs with in the bathroom as my wife tries to put them for bath times. You know.
Yeah, certainly.
Living on the edge, Rob. Living on the edge.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just mad. It's just mad the way things are and how it's evolved in terms of our friendship, you know, from being teenagers where we wouldn't have a care in the world, where I think our only focus or our main priority was to make sure we had enough money in our pocket for a night out, and Gola trainers. I remember, is it Gola trainers were the sad option, or was it? It was.
But Gola's really popular now.
Gola, yeah, I remember that.
Gola, Dunlop, you know, you're talking about £60 for a pair of those trainers now. It's retro.
Yeah, and you'd be on at your mum and dad, get me this, give me the latest pair of trainers, and you just be living for the day, for the weekend.
Well, I still love buying Nike Air Max. Absolutely love it. Still buy them because it just reminds me of kicking a football around the school playground. Being 13, 14 years old,
Yeah.
it means something to me. And also, I couldn't have them when I was younger either. My parents wouldn't buy me a pair. So now I look back and I think I'm going to have a pair of those. And then I go and buy 5 or 6 different colours. You know, it's funny. It's funny.
You have more in terms of stuff, but you have less in the pocket somehow. Whereas
Yeah.
young, you'd be out and about, the freedom of just living for that weekend, that day, meeting that person, that party. You know, there is a beauty to that. Whereas as you get older, I find that, and we've spoken about this before, you know, you sometimes carry the world on your shoulders and you forget about you. You know, you're the dad, you're the husband, you're the son, you're the brother, or whatever. But sometimes you forget that young version of you and the young version of me. What would that young version of you say if he met you now? Would say to you about the stuff and in yourself? What would the young version of Robert Surtees say to Robert Surtees right now?
Well, for a start, I suppose he would say to me, I want what you have, for sure, you know, because I was always conscious when I was younger of, you know, having the family, having the home and all the rest of it, just the way that you're brought up. But at the same time, he would probably laugh at the fact that I enjoy, you know, sitting in the garden or doing a bit of gardening or, you know, I'm watching a program on a particular subject, or actually I don't feel like going out today, or I do feel like going out. That young Robert would be saying, sorry, go out Friday, go out Saturday, go out Sunday, go out Monday, go out Tuesday.
I mean,
I think I think they would laugh. Just like in the In-Betweeners episode where I can't remember who it is. It might have been Will asked Simon a question about his family. I think he said something along the lines, they're in their 40s. They're already like had their life. And yet...
You remember when we were back when we were clubbing and stuff, and we were those 18-year-olds wearing our father's suits and thinking we were ever so cool, and then seeing people that were 40 when you're 18 or something seems really, really old until you actually get 40 and you think, actually, I'm young. You know, you then look to 60 as your next kind of point of your story. But yeah, crazy.
You know, I wouldn't change anything at all. We have fun, we enjoy life, we go out, we still do that, we still go to the bars. We very much enjoy that. But it's amazing all the people you see around us of a similar age group, and they're all in the same boat. And yet, you know, you can really talk and reminisce about the past. Yet, you know, there's only so much of a conversation I can have with somebody that's younger, because a lot of it doesn't actually mean anything to them. Yeah, it is strange. It is strange because you look back and you think, yeah, you're old. I've got 20 years on you, and then actually 20 years have gone in a blink of an eye. But same question.
But they say, you know, I mean, they say 40 is the new 30. Of course, we would say, but as you grow older,
I feel that.
Well, everything seems, as you grow older, the time seems to go so fast. Do you remember when you were like at school in the summer holidays, when 6 weeks was like 6 months, and it seemed to end every day? But as you grow older, it's because you don't make so many new first experiences, so your perception of time isn't quite the same as it was when you were younger, where everything seems like, oh my God, those 6 weeks of summer holiday, where people, would come back and as a guy in his adolescence years, they would have starting their first sprouts of hair, or they'd be growing a little bit of a tash or a little bit of a billy and stuff like that, or suddenly they've gone 1 or 2 inches up in height. That one summer where suddenly you grow. But it's just crazy because when you get older, you almost, you judge your week by when you're putting the bins out. And it's like every time that Monday or Tuesday comes along, it's just like, it feels like it was only one day ago. Just crazy. Yeah. Absolutely crazy.
So what would a young Johnny say to an older Johnny now?
He'd say, haven't you got so boring? That's what he would say. Where the younger version of Johnny looking at the older version of Johnny, thinking that on a cold winter's night, that sometimes let's stuff the pub and let's get home and have a vodka and cranberry juice and watch Question Time, would be like, what? What's happened to you? Or talking about the fact where sometimes we have a phone call, we chat about things like, I've been doing a lovely dish today, like a nice curry dish. Or we talk about the fact that we've done some work in the garden and things like that, where let's face it, when you and I used to talk about this kind of stuff, when we mentioned our mums and dads doing that, we'd like, oh God, well, talking about the garden or doing up the house. And now we're in our early 40s and we have.
Well, I think I sent you a picture the other day. This is what I've been up to. Fireplace. Look at my Christmas decorations. Would I have ever sent you a photograph of the Christmas lights that I've put up outside?
No.
You would have probably
humiliation and the cussing that would have gone on when you're an immature group of young lads. If you were talking about things like, I'm doing my gardening or I'm watching Question Time, people would think there's something seriously wrong with you. Not that there's anything wrong to be like that, but it's, especially in our generation, it was all about what you're wearing, where you're going out, who you're seeing, what girl you're dating, who's in with who. That if we talked about those kind of things, we never did. All we ever talked about was stuff that related to our hormones in terms of who we fancied, or where we would go out, and what trainers we're going to get, and doing stuff together. We would never talk about stuff that we talk about now, which is just, I suppose, is that transition, isn't it, from being a young guy to reaching that middle-aged.
Well, I think we were always conscious about working hard and studying hard. We always did that. We always spoke about those type of topics. But I remember always saying to you when I was younger, my 2 biggest fears was not doing well and will I ever meet somebody. And the funny thing about that is that when you're younger, we all know, you kind of go through girlfriends, etc. And you just kind of think, where's that stability? Where's that stability? I want that stability. And you just think, why are you putting so much pressure on yourself when you're 16, 17, 18? All of that will come, my dad used to say to me. And, now where we are, when we get together, when we have a chat, when we go and watch the tennis or whatever it might be, I don't feel any different from when I did 25, 30 years ago. I just know maybe I'm just a little bit older and a bit wiser. And
I agree.
Yeah. And when your friends or your children or your nieces or your nephews, whoever it might be, turn around and say, can I ask you a question? Can I have some advice? You think, am I going to be able to answer this question? And then you think, actually, I've got loads to say on this topic. But then talk to me about Zoom. And to be honest, I don't know hardly anything about Zoom because I don't really use it until now. Talk to me about Instagram.
It took you long enough, yeah.
A dinosaur with Instagram, not really into it. I don't know anything about that. And that's kind of scary because that's where we are.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the one thing that I would have liked if we were in a time machine that I would have liked to change in some ways. There was a real beauty in a lot of things about the simplicity of life in terms of not having all the social media and stuff. But the advantage to people doing that now, and obviously we use it ourselves, not to the same extent, things like Snapchat and stuff, it's just over my head, but it captures memories. And
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful thing. Whereas when we have our own personal memories, but it would be great to have that reference points at the time. Something like Black Mirror, an episode of Black Mirror that
Yes.
where you see like you're on
A, B, C, or D.
Yeah, and he says, take me back to July 1995. Obviously, social media doesn't do it like that exactly, but it does capture a moment in time. And I just think what's happened, in my opinion, is that it's gone to the extreme. So when people are out there, or you see like, guys and girls, or girls and girls and guys meeting up, they're consumed by their phone and their social media. Whereas when we went out, it was just going out with your mates, and
Well, of course. How many times have we been out and we have said that? I mean, my goodness, I think there was even a Black Mirror episode, a fantastic one actually, where they were consumed by their phone and the ratings and the likes that you would get. And the more likes you got, the more popular you were. And with the less likes you got, the less popular you were. And you would then start to fall down the, society's ladder. And you look at life now, and, I've been out with you where we've sat and we're just having a chat and we're taking in the atmosphere and we're enjoying the ambience of the place. And I've said to you, look at those people. Rather than them enjoy themselves, they're just on their phone. They're looking at the phone, they're touching their hair, looking at their phone, showing their friends the pictures, looking at their phone, showing the pictures. And you almost feel like you're missing the moment. Mm-hmm. You're missing the moment. You're not feeling the moment. You're not in the moment. You're in the moment of your phone. You're trying to record every minute rather than to enjoy it and live it. And there was something very, very powerful about the fact that in the old days, you really lived those moments. You had fantastic moments. You were totally
in the old days. Sound like your dad. You had that.
Yes, I know. But you were absorbed in the ambience. You danced because you danced. Enjoyed that time. Nobody wanted to walk around with a portable camera, I think it happened once or twice where you had those disposable cameras, but it was bulky in your pocket. Today, too many people are absorbed in their phone. They just are.
They are. But some people, I would say, what they describe now as influencers, they're making a really good living out of it. So
yeah, they are. Yeah.
Everyone sees those kind of examples whereby you could have someone from Joey Essex of The Only Way Is Essex, or Kim Kardashian, or whoever it might be, or at a more lower level stuff in terms of an influencer, lifestyle influencer that will catapult his or her career and use it as a channel whereby they'll be staying at the best hotels in the world and stuff like that. And a lot of it's complimentary because they have an audience. A lot of companies or corporates want to get involved in. But most, that is a minority. A lot of people, I would say, social media has become, in some ways, the be-all and end-all. Almost like, it's your badge. It's your badge of honor. You're judged upon the network you keep or the amount of friends that you've got. Obviously, for us, I don't know about, I think we've had this chat, but on Facebook, I hardly use it.
No, I don't. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, whereas some people...
I enjoy keeping in touch with people from around the world, people that I haven't seen for a very, very long time. But if I spoke to my nephew, he's got like 1,000 friends maybe. And he might say, I've got 1,000 friends. And I think I know I've said to him before in the past, but how many of those people do you really actually know?
Well, you're lucky to have, you're lucky to count at this age, your best friends on one hand. And having 1,000 friends, like you said, how many of them will phone up your nephew in a moment of crisis or wherever it might be. They always use this analogy. If you're ever ill in hospital, the first people to visit you are the people that care about you the most. And a lot of these so-called 1,000 friends is more, I would say, it's more, again, it's a little bit narcissistic, where you almost want to, it's an ego thing. Look at all these people, they love me so much. And something ridiculous extents, like Facebook, for example, you get people that go on it and say, oh, I'm watching a program, it's really good. Look at what's happened here. What does everybody think about this scene? Oh, I've just gone from the program, I've just put my cup of tea on, and I've now made my cup of tea. Oh, look at this lovely cup of tea I've got. And I've got now a biscuit. What's your favorite biscuit? And then the program's now in the middle of it. I've now moved on from my biscuit, or I'm now going to have a sandwich. Well, guilty about a cheese sandwich, and it's like, just enjoy what you're watching or doing. You need an audience.
Well, look, when I look at my Facebook, all the people that I have on my Facebook are people I know and people that know me. And usually if I post something, people do look at it and like it, because it's very rare I will post something. And one of my other friends, who you know quite well, has always gone by the analogy, would that person buy me a beer if they saw me in the pub?
Mm-hmm.
Would they say hello and buy you a beer? And, when I talk to him about this stuff, he agrees with what we talk about. And he's a bit older than us, as you know. But then, there's always that jokey side of it. You're just getting old. You're just getting old. In fact, his kids would say to me, oh, Rob, you're just getting old. You don't see it. We're into all of this. And I go, no, I see it. I understand it. Maybe
we probably would have done it.
We probably would have enjoying life without it always being surrounded by technology.
We probably would have done it, because I suppose that social peer group pressure where everybody's doing it, everybody has their smartphones. When we were growing up, you didn't have a mobile phone. So social media is almost part of the school uniform, or part of the kind of night out. It seems like, for us, because we've seen both sides of it, we don't really need it. We engage, we don't really need it. And Facebook is something which, sometimes you go on there just for a little bit of a snoop, see what's going on with any kind of birthdays or any kind of, maybe some gossip with friends that you haven't been so much in touch with. But to be honest with you, it's not my bag. And I think we've spoken about it a lot. We don't much engage, apart from when you send me the odd invitation to play pool virtually, which, as you well know, get a good hiding on whenever we play. I think something like 21, but that's for another day altogether. But Facebook, not really my bag. What about Twitter?
No, I do like Twitter. I was never into it for a while, but I certainly do enjoy following and keeping in touch with what people are thinking, or also what's going on in the local area. It's good to be abreast of what's going on in the world. And I think, you hear it from Twitter first sometimes before you will hear it from a more public domain. I mean, certainly, and again, I suppose just showing my age, but when you're seeing updates from the local, constabulary about incidents in your area, or this is happening, or, we're just letting you know about this. I find it useful. I do find it useful, but I also do find it a bit of a platform where people do use it as their soapbox quite often, which, there's good and bad with that. But yeah, I can see the point of Twitter. It has its place.
Yeah, I love Twitter for a bit exactly like you. You get breaking news or stories before even the main networks, and it's a really good tool. I don't tweet, I think it goes back to that Facebook analogy where I don't feel like I feel compelled to have a ongoing diary of everything I'm doing. I'm not knocking anyone for doing it, because obviously I look to Twitter because I'm following certain people and I'm interested. So I suppose it's a contradiction in terms, but I do enjoy the forum for news and breaking news and stuff like that. And we've utilised it ourselves a lot in just even on a night out when something terrible happens and it's breaking news or something. So that, I suppose, out of all the social media platforms, if I had to choose which one I regularly engage with and I use, even though I don't necessarily do, it is Twitter by far, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
In comparison to the others.
No, I agree. I agree.
What would you say is the biggest difference in being 43, as I am, considerably younger than you're 44, as I like to rub it in every birthday when, you know, your birthday is in October, my birthday is April. So you make me feel young already, Rob. So which is always a great thing. What would you say is the biggest difference to you now than what you were at 30?
In what sense?
If you could name three fundamental things that, you know, a younger version of Rob at 30 to where you are in now in life,
Right.
You would say is the biggest difference in getting older. I suppose that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. I suppose I worry more about health. I certainly wouldn't have worried about that at all when I was younger. I think it comes back to that issue that most of us have, that, you know, as soon as anything happens, I have a tendency to want to Google any symptom, and then I get a whole medical dictionary from a common cold to your more severe ailments. And yeah, I would say.
Well, there's that great line in Mad Dog.
Yeah.
You know, when you're younger and you've got like a pain in your head, it's a headache. But when you get in your 40s, that pain in your head is a tumour.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Not that I ever was worried about these kind of things. You know, I've always been very relaxed about it, haven't I, Rob?
No, well, you're the sort of person that goes to the doctor for absolutely anything and everything, and I go like maybe once every 10 years. But yes, health is something that we constantly talk about, and I don't know if anyone else does this out there, and I think we're a bit guilty of this, but sending me that picture the other day of your gum, that was really wonderful picture to
sorry
at.
about that, mate.
It just,
sorry about it. It's right at the back of my wisdom tooth. I
know. But it just seems to be the kind of thing that you do when you're older. You'll start sharing pictures of your war wounds. You know, staying close to friends and family, and you know, the socialising which we've all had to kind of put to one side for this year. It's so important when you get older to spend that quality time with your friends and family, because and I hate to say it, you know, you're forever reminded about the sad news always of somebody passing away, or, you know, people you grew up with, or people that were just part of your life, like, you know, the great actors and actresses and artists and writers, whoever it might be, that you go, crikey, you know, you're a big part of my childhood. So that's constantly on my mind. And I suppose at the same time, just wanting to be comfortable in life, all the kind of things that you would put to one side when you're younger. You're sort of free, and, you know, you and I, we would go out with £20 in our pocket, and we would make it last. Today, you know, that's not even drinks for us.
And you know, it's very true, because nowadays, you know, it's very different. And I agree with you. I think, although we're two guys in our 40s, we keep saying, we're getting older and all that, and people might think, it's two guys gone on. They talk about like they're ancient, but they're not. They're only in their early 40s. It's not like that at all, because we do have a very kind of young mentality, both in terms of how we try to present ourselves and go out, but in terms of just stuff as you grow older, you do get more worried. That's for one. Whereas when you're younger, you have a sense of invincibility. Invincibility. Whereas when you get older, you do worry, and I think also in some ways you get more serious about things as well. Whereas when you're younger, I would say you're more happy-go-lucky and you live for the moment more. Whereas in our age group and stuff like that, you're worrying about your mortgage, or your pension pot or stuff like that, which it doesn't get any more exciting.
Yes, it comes back to being comfortable. You're constantly thinking about being comfortable, having good health, and having your family and friends around you.
And I'd say the last thing is that you're conscious that when you were 20 and you had 40 or 30 in the horizon, you thought you had plenty of time to enjoy yourself, make the most of life, go out with your friends and stuff like that. But you realize as you get, even in your 40s, if you've got that kind of awareness, I think we have, that you should treasure these moments and treasure moments when you're going out or doing stuff together, even as mates, because you're still young, but you don't have that philosophy where you're 20. Oh, I've got 20 years. I'll just do what I like, enjoy myself, whatever. Yeah, and you want to appreciate things more than I think when you were younger. But they say youth is wasted on the young. And without sounding condescending to anyone young listening to this, in some ways there is a logic to that. But I agree with you, mate. I agree. I think it's more a mental thing than anything else, because I don't know about you, but physically I feel as fit as ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a life thing and a mental thing and a realization thing. That's the difference. And when you're younger, you're more blinkered, generally speaking, and you live more for the moment.
Yeah,
I would say. Well, I think we've covered for our very first podcast, and I know you and I were thinking, why are we even doing this? I think you told me, and I said, no, let's do it. I think we've given it a good stab for our first one. So, for anyone listening out there's more to follow. So if you haven't switched off or bored or anything like that, where you feel like you want to listen more to stuff that we've got to say about life and things, our second episode coming up next Friday. We'd like to try to do this once a week in between work, obviously, like I said. And the topic that you and I are going to talk about is something which we've spoken about at length and many, many times before. When you are out, you are out. And basically that episode is going to be about, what we did when we were like 18 to the present day in terms of our memories and things that we've done from a social scene, a party in a club, a bar scene. And it's something I think we've spoken about at length, and we would love to convey to anyone listening out there in terms of the podcast or some of our memories and observations. And it's something we feel very passionate about. So episode 2 will be about when you're out. But how do you feel with your first podcast, Rob? There's not many firsts that you do when we're 43 and 44.
Yeah. I think it's gone okay. It's never easy talking into a computer, but it might put a smile on my wife's face, because she was like, well, you won't get me doing it. So I said, well, we'll see what happens.
No, I absolutely agree with you. It's something which you do, and you try to get around the technology side. And like I said, after the nightmare we had in doing then getting around to doing it, and virtually, and the pandemic kind of stuff. It doesn't replicate on a face-to-face side of things, but it's been great doing this first one with you, Rob, and hopefully one of many. So without any more chat for me and Rob, because we can go on all night, and I think Rob needs to go back to his wife, and I think someone's had an accident in the bath upstairs from I'm hearing. So I need to attend for that. But that's all, folks, and hope to speak and chat with everybody on the podcast next week. Bye.